welcome back, League Night listeners. Is this going to be my new intro? Maybe. I don't know. My alliteration. Anyway, welcome back. We're going to do another swing breakdown today. But first, want to thank our friend Ryan at Riot Sports, always hooking us up. Got us a few pair of batting gloves the other day that we're trying out. So maybe look for that in the future. We may be talking about that. Also, please, if you have not already, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Check us out on Facebook. All those links will be in the description below, so that way you can follow along and stick with us. So we appreciate all the new viewers and old viewers. We want you guys to stick around and tell your friends. Also, we've got a shout out for our friend Stacy that Jason's going to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so our friend Stacy at ASP Nation has helped us design 2 different versions of our Sharks jerseys, one of which Cameron is currently wearing. And she also just helped us design jerseys for our U-Trip team, LGH. Shout out to Stacy at ASP Nation. They make great jerseys, high quality. They have a design team that can help you design jerseys if you are unsure, but you just have an idea. Super duper responsive. We just put in an order today. Today is Jan 25. Guaranteed delivery by 2/5 for our next U-Trip tournament. So
awesome.
Shout out to her. If you are interested in getting in contact with her for jerseys or any other uniform stuff, please give us a shout out. You can either message us on Facebook or throw something in the comments on YouTube and we can get you connected with her. Great stuff they make over there. Highly satisfied.
I'm stoked for LGH jerseys, I'm telling you.
Right?
Nothing like having a team
look
jersey.
Like a team out there.
I know. Nothing like having a team jersey. Love it. Anyway, so to our swing breakdown today. Today we're going to be looking at our friend Jay-Z, who plays on pretty much every other team we play on. There's a
loyal listener, friend of the pod.
That's right. Always commenting, always has good feedback. But we're going to take a look at his swing today. Wanted to look at his a little bit because even though he did hit a home run in our last tournament, he definitely would define himself more as a base hitter, on base percentage guy. You know, he's always 700 to 800 on base, can hit all fields, that sort of thing. So a little bit different than the swings you've seen from myself and Jason. We're a little bit more hit the ball hard and get on base kind of guys. Not that Jay-Z doesn't hit the ball hard, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you and I are, let's hit the ball hard, try to hit a gap as often as possible, and see if we can't get some extra bases if we can find them. Whereas I think his approach, get on base first, or do what I need to do to get on base first, and then after that, if something happens, it's just gravy. So
yeah, he's definitely looking to find the gap in the infield and just hammer a line drive through that gap. You know, in a 4-person infield, he's going to try to blow middle if he can.
All the time.
Up the middle. But yeah, he's got a really good right side approach too.
Yeah, and he's brave because he pitches often. So he pitches often and he blows middle often. So take that for what you will, but it's not retaliated on him yet. Let's knock on wood for that.
He lives dangerously.
He does live dangerously for sure.
He also wears a full catcher's uniform on the mound.
Basically, but
for good
also, for good reason. If you're going to hit middle, you got to be ready for that. Anyway, we're going to take a quick look at this. I got a couple of his swings here. Both of them are line drives, which again, I think is kind of his bread and butter. Doesn't get the ball too high, kind of just gets it through the infield, in front of the outfield, and gets on base. So he gets his...
gallops to first base, some might say?
Usually he doesn't have to gallop the first base. It's when he's running those extra bases when he has to really... put on the gallop. If you ever see Jay-Z run, you'll know. He's got himself a gallop more than a stride, but hey, it works for him. So let's kind of just watch it through real quick just to kind of see the whole thing here. Nice slow-mo videos that we got all one day, which was really nice. I like having these slow-mo videos just ready to go for any time we want to look at it. And again, you're going to notice kept that ball low. Probably didn't go much higher than maybe 15 feet. And this is actually second swing. This one he gets in a little bit. The pitch gets a little bit in on his hands. And so you'll notice he kind of shortens up the arms a little bit, but still is able to kind of low line drive it. Again, probably doesn't get much higher than 15, 20 feet, which again, sometimes is harder to do when you've got a a ball that's a little lower like that one was, sometimes it's hard to keep it down. So he was able to keep it low without popping it up and also without just blasting it in the ground for an easy grounder. So gonna go back here to that first swing. Gonna pause it right here as he's starting to wind up. Actually, let's kind of take a look real quick. A little bit different thing you've seen as opposed to what Jason and I do. He's got this really open stance. So you notice that back foot is a lot more towards the inside, where the front foot is like almost all the way out of the box there. So then we'll move forward a little bit.
Other thing you notice too is he is up on the plate a lot more than we are.
His sure
back
is.
foot is probably an inch or so off of that inside batter's box line.
Yeah.
Could potentially expose him to those inside pitches like you saw in the second swing where it gets in on his hands a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe Jay-Z consider stepping off the plate just a smidge.
Yeah.
Even with those 34-inch bats, you're still able to cover the outside pretty well, but it might help you insulate from getting jammed.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he does that open stance, so that way he can keep it open for those inside pitches. I don't know, but
well, actually, when you go back to swing 2, we'll make a point about how he maybe tries to cover those inside pitches. Instead of being positioned in the box differently, he plants his front foot differently.
Let's go ahead and move forward in slow-mo here for the stride. You'll notice Jay-Z takes a massive stride. So
he almost doubles from his base. He almost covers the whole entire batter's box there from back to front.
Right.
So really good job of throwing those hips and really pushing all of his weight forward through the swing.
Absolutely huge stride, which again is good. It helps create, I guess you could call it power, but for what he's trying to accomplish, calling it velocity, even though it might be the same thing, is really more of what he's trying to create. He just wants that ball to go out fast. It doesn't necessarily need to go up and out fast, like a home run hitter or like somebody that's trying to hit doubles and triples. So he kind of gets that big stride out there to get all of his weight moving forward. And
generates a lot of good bat speed.
Absolutely. He's starting to bring his bat down into the zone, keeps that back shoulder and elbow actually really tight. And you'll notice
there he finally gets into a good flat bat swing.
Yep.
So, one thing is you notice a lot of vertical bat movement. He does find a way to get that bat into a good flat position as he begins to swing. One thing you would be concerned with is if you are late, you're probably going to expose yourself to a lot more variability when getting from here to here. Right?
Yeah.
Because when you're on time, that timing all works really well. But if you're late and you're trying to rush that bat into position, you could potentially expose yourself a little bit. In ASA, when you release the ball, you're good. You're probably fine. In U-trip, if somebody pump fakes you and you start a little bit, it might put you in an awkward position. But hasn't been a problem for him.
No, not
from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, so it's working out for him so far. Just wanted to point out too, again, because we were talking about getting that bat into the flat bat path. He's got that thing almost vertical right now, straight up and down. And you'll notice as we move through here, it stays up, but then pretty quickly, once he decides to get it down, it drops backwards and down and just gets right into that position really, really nice and smoothly. So no weird hitches. I wouldn't say there's any lost efficiency in there anywhere.
You can see he's almost fully opened up his hips, and his bat still hasn't even started to come through the zone yet either.
Right.
So he's really getting a good torque with those hips.
Right, really good lag, as they call it. I think you see that more when you talk about breaking down pitchers pitching, where you've got that lag between when your hips fire open and your arm is still back, and then your shoulders and arm fire open afterwards. So I think this is very similar in that, where again, he's getting those hips fired open early, which creates a whole bunch of centripetal force. Centripetal force, not really the force yet. It's more of the potential energy there that he can then unload on it. So, and again, nice and smooth through. Really nice,
really
smooth.
Flat follow through.
Yeah, stays nice and flat all the way through. And then
you look at that release off the bat, and you don't see that ball picking up very much kind of altitude at all.
Right. It's just staying in the zone there, like staying, even by the time it leaves his leaves the frame here, which I know is a little bit hard for you guys to see because Jason's fat head's right there. But but this thing, I mean, by the time it leaves the frame, which you're probably, I don't know, we've probably got 15-ish feet in front of him, 20 feet in front of him. I mean, it's barely, and it's barely above his head, you know? So by the time it gets to the middle, you know, the middle infielders, it's probably going to be, I'm guessing, probably going to be out of reach, even if it's right at him, as far as if they wanted to jump and try to grab that ball. So again, kind of that sweet spot between how hard did it get hit, how high did it get hit, and what direction did it get hit? Because from this one, it looks like, too, it's probably, if you're looking at a 4-man infield, that's going to be inside of a shortstop, and actually inside between the shortstop and the second baseman. There's not a lot of infielders are going to be able to do with that. 5-man might be different. However, Jay-Z often will go backside. If your 5-man is shifted over to the left side of the infield, it doesn't really matter to him anyway. He'll just put it over to the right side. So really good back control in that way too.
You notice that he's got that fully extended front knee like I do.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very, very good sign that you're unloading all of that force through your plant leg in the front. Just again, hats off to Jay-Z for really getting that weight forward and transferred through the barrel of the bat. Only thing you might consider to be a problem is the overstride. You could start changing the plane of the swing. So if you stride too much, you'll see him sometimes get under the ball. And so it's either, is he overstriding or is he rushing his hands through, which is preventing the bat from getting into that good flat trajectory like you're hoping for. You know, occasionally when Jay-Z tries to muscle up and hit bombs during BP, he'll get a little bit quick through, and it'll either be that bat won't hit that flat spot like it's supposed to in the backswing, and he's rushing to get through the zone.
Right.
But this swing is a perfect example of being very quiet in the backswing and then unloading the hips and just letting everything follow.
And to Jay-Z's credit too, even though when we're having fun in BP and that sort of thing, you just try to muscle up and hit one out, when it's game time, he doesn't even cross his mind to try for a home run. He knows the role he wants to play, and he plays it the correct way every time. So shout out to him for that. That's one, knowing yourself, and two, being a good team player and doing what you know you need to do to help the team. So very good on him for that. So let's take a quick look at the one where it gets in a little bit on his hands. Again, has that really open stance, bat straight up and down.
You'll notice how much further out in the box he lands his front leg than it did before.
Yeah.
So if he was probably a good 4 inches closer to the middle of the plate. And so I think what we had mentioned, but now we're looking at, is if he's getting jammed on the inside, his reaction is to open up that front foot a lot more.
Yeah.
But the kind of issue that it's going to cause is it's going to really open up your front shoulder as well. And as you see, he gets under it a little bit more, you know, and it's just going to prevent a little bit of the bat speed and trajectory because he has to open up the entire front side of his swing to get to that ball.
Right.
And it changes the bat path a little bit.
Yeah. But again, to his credit, he's got really good bat control. So even though he had to make all those adjustments, again, this ball, maybe a little bit, again, because it's a lower pitch, it's harder to keep down. By the time this thing is going out of the frame, so, you know, 20-ish feet maybe in front of him, it's still only 15 feet off the ground. So in most cases, unless there's an outfield that's playing really, really in, or an infield that's playing really, really out, this ball's really in no danger of getting caught before it hits the ground. Being able to take a pitch that maybe wasn't exactly what he was looking for, it's not his perfect cookie, this is exactly what I want, but able to do the right thing with it. Again, it's why he bats 700-800 all the time, because he's able to do a lot of right things with a lot of different pitches. So it's not like, okay, I have to wait for the perfect pitch to do what I want to do. He's able to do it with a variety of pitches in a variety of locations in a variety of situations. So notice
how you're seeing a lot more of the barrel than you normally do with his swing. You can actually see how the bat is no longer flat. It's actually kind of dipped a little bit. You can start seeing as he gets through there, the bat is angled down instead of flat. And then you'll see his hands recorrect as he follows through to become flat through follow through. You see he's correcting, keep going. And then there, he'll correct, he'll get back flat, and he'll maintain flat bat through the follow through. But as you mentioned, because it was short and potentially in on his hands, him opening up that front side pulls his hands out of the flat bat path and causes it to dip a little bit, which is where you can see the launch angle. If you're kind of seeing where my head is, that top corner, the ball was almost exactly above this corner on the first swing.
Yeah.
You'll notice that it's probably up near the top of the tree now. And that's just because of that slight variation of the bat path, which causes the launch angle to go up a little more.
Right.
And, depending, like you said, on how shallow the outfielders are playing, that might have been about 175. That gives the outfielders a chance to make a play on that versus the first one where he's probably hitting it about 15 to 20 feet off the ground, but with a trajectory that's going to get over the infielders, but not hang up long enough for the outfielders to have a chance to make a play.
Yeah, pretty good odds of, I would say above 50% odds of getting a base hit there. At least I know when I play outfield, 300-foot fences, whatever it might be, I'm usually playing at 250, 265, something like that. So a ball that gets hit 175, I'm going to have to make a heck of a play to catch that ball. And again, it's not super high, so it's not like I'm running in on a fly ball that's hanging up in the air. It's a ball that's going to get to me pretty quickly too. So that's usually kind of like we've talked about in some of our do the right thing, do the smart thing podcasts, the ball that, you don't sell out for it unless you have to, something like that. So that's usually a ball that you let drop in front of you because it's just too risky to try to go get it. Nobody bats 1,000. So I think, again, if I'm going to say, is this a ball that I'm going to get more than 50% of the time? I'm going to say yes. Like, he's going to get on base with that hit. Again, even with a pitch that's not his favorite and a swing that's probably not his favorite either. Since we talked about that bat being angled down, a lot of times when people get low pitches like this, you'll start to see that old baseball uppercut kind of rear its head. But you'll notice, even though he's got that bat angled down, it's still flat. It's still on a straight back forward plane. He's not golf swinging this. So he's just adjusted. It's almost like he adjusted that angle to make up for how much closer inside that pitch was, as opposed to, I'm going to try to scoop it and do something like that. So again, I think that's probably a big reason for the success on still being able to line drive a pitch like that. That's pretty difficult to hit, in my opinion, or at least difficult to hit to a spot where you're going to get a base hit.
You'll notice that the timing of his hips unloading on this swing are significantly different than the timing of his hips unloading in the first swing. You'll notice his hips are unloading almost at the time of contact, whereas in the first swing where he hit that P-rod up the middle, his hips were fully unloaded and the bat hadn't even really started coming through the zone yet.
Right.
So you can definitely see there's a noticeable difference in the timing of his hips unloading versus the bat coming through the zone, where he has a little less of that bat lag than he did on the first swing.
I think one other thing too that he did really well in both of these that we wanted to mention. So let's wait till he gets engaged in his swing here, maybe where he's starting to take his step. Watch his eyes, watch his head. I mean, barely moves at all. He is tracking that ball the whole time. He doesn't get this big wild movement. I mean, look at this. All the way through, his head barely moves. So he is staying nice and still, which again is probably why he's so accurate at hitting the ball where he wants to hit it. All the way through contact, his head is still. And again, you'll notice he's not falling into that trap that a lot of people do where you start looking out ahead before you hit the ball. It's hard to see. The video is not mega clear. This isn't 4K, but you can tell like he's still looking at the ball at the point of contact. Does not take his eyes off of it the entire time and doesn't really start looking at it. I would argue he's probably still, like, now he might be looking at the ball. Or now he might be looking out towards the ball instead of looking down at the point of contact, because he still is kind of got his head down there at the point of contact and then starts looking up at the ball, once it's 20 feet out, 15 feet out. So really good strategy for base hitting for sure. hits the ball really well, hits it with a fair amount of velocity.
I'm actually really impressed at how well he maintains that flat bat path, especially in that first swing. Uses his hips really well. There's a lot of positives with Jay-Z's swing.
Yeah, really good base hitter. Not like your perfect power hitter type swing with the stride. He kind of gets leaned forward ahead, like his upper body, his torso, whereas a lot of times your power hitters, a lot of times are kind of staying back. But you'll notice, again, I think it's because of that big stride. He gets way out there, but then he's still able to brace against that front leg. So, again, able to make up for that. And, again, super successful with his swing.
The only other thing I'd be wondering, and I don't know if I've seen it from him, and I'd love to see if we can get one on tape and show the viewers at another time, is if he was to commit his hands like that the way he does, because he has such good bat control. I haven't seen it consistently enough, but I'd love to see a video of him doing that to the right side, because he opens up really well in this video and hits middle really hard. But I'm wondering, I'd love to see what that front foot does when he really commits his body and his hands to driving it to the right side.
Yeah.
And seeing that all of those mechanics stay the same, but driving through to the opposite field as opposed to kind of the middle.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really valuable footage for myself and the viewers to see how you can take those same things that you do to drive the ball middle to pull side really well, and how those mechanics translate to hitting to the right side.
Maybe we need to do a video of just a compilation of a bunch of us that we have footage for hitting to the right side, and then we can kind of just look at that mechanic as a different approach, because again, hitting backside super important, and Jay-Z does it really well. I would argue he's better hitting backside than he is to the left side, which certainly is not the norm, but certainly gets him on base a lot.
I think now that we've done 3 of these breakdowns to just looking at general mechanics, I think we can start being a little bit more specialized with how do we break down somebody who's trying to hit backside, what kinds of tactics are you using, what changes in those mechanics, and I think Jay-Z has a lot of those. So, Jay-Z, we might feature you again, buddy.
You might be the Oppo feature. I think it's a great swing, and he should keep swinging that way, because I like having a 7-800 batter in our lineup for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Depending on what platform you're watching us on, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. Anything you can do to let us know that you like what we're doing here. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.